Coming to you from Studio HQ, this is a new episode of Think Indie, the Think Indie podcast. And I'm your host, Dodgy, in the mix, mixing up with Rabbit. Hello.
What's going on, everybody?
And my main man, Manny. What's happening?
What's happening, indie thinkers?
Indeed. and to the thinkers out there, if this is your first episode, this is the first episode you're watching from Think Indie, welcome. And if you've been watching us since episode 1, welcome back. This is episode 5. High five. But yeah, so if you guys are unfamiliar what the show is about, we just talk indie comics where it go from Webtoon to Kickstarter to Indiegogo, floppies, and also just a little bit of comic book knowledge. And we get some tips and tricks from our esteemed panel right here of creators. All right, so let me just hit our magical PowerPoint presentation and yes, table 5. All right, and we're going to just talk about one of our sponsors here, Think Indie Comics, by Indie Comics Day. Manny, when's the date?
The date is Saturday, October 1st. It's going to be a worldwide event in different comic book shops, bookshops. If you have a comic book shop, if you visit a comic book shop, reach out to them and see what they have planned. We were already reached by somebody in actually a comic book owner in Canada. He's already setting up an event. And somebody reached out to me last night from Ireland. So they're gonna do an event over there in Ireland. So yeah, it's exciting, man. It's still early and people are already reaching out. So yeah, hopefully this year we get back to like when we were in 2019 before this whole pandemic stopped the world, basically.
It's not too late.
Oh no, y'all have plenty of time.
Exactly. So reach out to your local comic book store. Let's make it known by Indie Comics Day. It's really an event of its own for us independent comic book creators as well as for the local comic book community.
Yep.
All right, we got our creative question of the episode, and our creative question is: do you have a go-to creator that you look for inspiration, and why? Start with you, Rabbit. Do you have a creator in mind that you go to that like just lifts your spirit?
I don't exactly have anyone that's really mainstream or whatnot. I have a fellow creator that's really helped me out around here, and he's got about 10 books. His name is Chris Hayes, and he's been a sounding board throughout my career. Also, one of my editor friends, his name's Chris Stevens. I've always been able to call him up and just kind of bounce things off. Whenever I think of creators that I go to for inspiration, it's usually been people that I've worked with or came across in the beginning of my career. I mean, obviously, you love all the main artists and creators. I was a big X-Men fan, so whenever you think Chris Claremont, you think of huge X-Men arcs and stuff, and that's been amazing to me.
Yeah, no doubt. How about you, Manny? Who's your go-to creator for inspiration?
My go-to is Jack Kirby. Jack Kirby, even just I have those big Marvel Essentials, the big Bible-sized books, and whenever I have an art blog or something, I just flip through those books. And even if I'm feeling it, I'm drawing and stuff, I have Jack Kirby documentaries in the background, and just man, his creativity was something from another world, man. He inspired me constantly. I look to Joe Kubert a lot for inspiration, and Todd McFarlane, and I actually have a stash of books that are all with like coverless, all torn up. And mostly they're from Greg Capullo, and really? They're doubles from my Spawn collection, from the ones that Greg Capullo drew, and I have them by my drawing table, and I just flip through them, and I'm like, oh man, okay, now I'm in the mood, let's draw, and it's just it's a source of inspiration for me.
Yeah, no, that's great because you are an artist, and you find that if you do, like, just have a look at what these artists have to offer, they just add that little bit of extra energy. Would you say?
Yeah, and it's almost like, okay, I need to reach this level.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you shouldn't compare with any, you shouldn't compare yourself with anybody. You should have you should set yourself a goal that's almost unattainable, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to be like, oh, I'm good enough.
Yeah,
If you're good enough, then you just quit.
right.
You always have to look at somebody like, man, maybe I can reach that level. Okay, here we go, boom, boom, and just keep pushing yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
who else rather than Jack Kirby? That you'll never. I heard once Alex Ross say Jack Kirby is like a goal that is unattainable, right? It's almost like you want to reach it, but it's unreachable. So you
Mm-hmm.
always have to strive and try to push it, but you'll never get there. But it's good to try.
No, of course. Yeah, I would tell you who my creative influence is, and I cannot draw anything like the guy. But whenever I look at his art style, even if I just look at the cover, I could look at his cover for hours, and that's Stephen Platt when he drew Moon Knight.
Oh my God!
And yeah,
Yes,
an artist that kind of like just dropped off the face of the earth. I mean, he made Moon Knight the last I think last 9 issues were probably the
yeah,
highest selling Marvel books at the time, and they canceled their title. But that art, my goodness gracious me, that
Yeah.
was like, it was like a hybrid of Spawn and Batman
yeah.
in white. Like the art style in that was just, in my opinion,
Finish.
and I just look at that and I just can look at it like a painting and just watch it.
Damn right. Finishing with Nightfall. That was the last issue, and the cover is Moon Knight sprawl on the floor, all bloody and tattered
Yeah,
and stuff.
exactly.
I have
And
that comic. I love Moon Knight.
oh, yeah,
Yeah,
but those books are hot at the moment because of the fact that they were just so different to any other
yeah,
Moon Knight ever drawn. But no, definitely inspirational. And that's the thing, guys. If you're listening, there's no harm in like just looking at or even talking to fellow creators like Rabbit did, getting inspiration from creators that might be your peers.
yeah,
Brainstorming is not a crime. So any questions you have, just feel free to ask. It builds their ego as well as improving your style. So definitely, there's no harm.
yeah. Some creators are e- easier to reach than others. But even if you think that they're like grade A, Snyder, Capullo, and all those people, sometimes they do reply.
Yeah.
Sometimes you find creators that don't want to reach out, but like I talk in another episode, one of the previous episodes, one of my best relationships online was with Norm Brayfogle, which
Mm-hmm.
all growing up he was one of my idols, and we became friends online. But just like him, there's plenty others. I've actually interacted with Snyder.
Mm-hmm.
I've interacted with Eric Larson, with a bunch of them. So
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
they they
well,
they they seem like they're so far away, but you can reach them.
and it never hurts to try. I reached out to
Yeah,
Tyler Kirkham whenever I first did my first book, and I was trying to see if I could get him on my cover. Now it didn't exactly work out, but he actually did reach back to me, and we exchanged a few messages and got to talk. And to me, he was one of the greatest artists that I really wanted on one of my books, and
yeah,
just to have him reach back out to me was amazing.
Yeah.
yeah.
True.
You know what's funny? Now that we're talking about this, real quick, I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait too much time. But I'm actually on a Spawn group, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and this guy is posting all these images of Spawn, like high quality images of Spawn, and everybody's freaking out. And when I see the name, is the actual colorist is Dan Kemp. He is
Oh wow.
he colored Spawn when Greg Capullo was working
Yeah.
on the comic. So immediately I knew the name. I said, "Hold on, this is Dan Kemp." So I went on my collection, click 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 click, because I have him right there on my drawing table.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I actually reached out to him and I said, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah, I'm the same Dan Kemp. I have all these covers that I want to share with you guys and stuff." I'm like, "Holy crap!" Wow, what are the odds? So yeah, everybody's freaking out now.
The wonders of social media, right there.
Yeah, man, no doubt, no doubt.
All right, moving on. We're going to be talking about Webtoon today. And the book that was chosen was God, Please Make Me a Demon by a Korean webtoon creator, Bulsa. All right, I'm going to start with you, Rabbit. What did you think of the lettering in this book?
Well, I definitely thought it was very cute. It was very unique and a very little bit different. I found it pretty interesting. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of loud,
Very loud.
and you know, very descriptive. Whatever it was, just kind of out there in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. You do find, especially in a lot of Japanese manga, they do have Japanese text when people turn, and that kind of implies like rush or moving or sigh or like hurrying. You know what I mean? It just shows text to what the actual actions are, as
Hmm.
opposed to just having just lines. So I think that and translating that all to English was kind of like a little bit strange to me, but in a way, it's like it's harmless, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was harmless. But Manny, what did you think of the art in this book?
The art was very. It was really good. It was like Paul said, it's very cutesy. It's I think this book is more geared towards a female audience, but
Mm-hmm.
it still looks beautiful. It still looks really good. It was funny. There's a scene where the baby is in the church and he's crying and crying. And
Yeah.
you get almost annoyed. You're like, why is this baby crying so much? Dad take him out of the church, and it's because he's a demon. So I'm like, oh, okay, that was clever.
If when you put a baby in cold water, they're gonna cry because it's
Yeah,
uncomfortable.
no doubt. Either that or pass out because the temperature is so different. But yeah, it was
Mhm.
cool. It was a cool little web
Yeah.
comic. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's definitely different because, like Manny said that, or Manny said, apologies, that the character is a demon. Her name is Moran Bake. She's basically a beautiful young girl that is kind of in a world that doesn't belong to her or where she doesn't feel she belongs.
Yeah.
And I think she's been like like she's been living in a human body for the last 5,000 years. So every time person dies, she gets reinvented as another human and um ongoing again. She wants to get out, and and it is very cute. There's dialogue in there that kind of implies that she's trying to break free, and
Yeah.
and I like when there was like one scene when it was like how to combat her feelings was to be nice to people instead of the opposite. I thought that was hilarious. But I mean,
it's funny
like
because she's upset because she was cursed to be 5,000 years on Earth, right? To
yes.
become a demon. And
Mhm.
at some point, she's like, they tricked me. It's been 5,000 years already. And I'm like, yeah, they're demons. Well, what do you expect? They're not going to tell you the truth. So it's funny. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
funny.
and like just the image that we see here, it looks like it's hand painted. And that's the thing I do appreciate about the art is that it goes from the very stoic, say, and colorful, like Sailor Moon type art, and then it goes to chibi, very very chibi, and then it
Yeah,
goes into the style like that we're seeing right here, which kind of is not really chibi, but it looks like it's just
a
like
sketch.
just a simple hand drawn. Yeah, it's just a simple sketch, and
And
it
it's
works so well.
yeah, and it's also this is all everything in the web comic is digital. Even
Hmm.
this that looks like a sketch is done digitally. There's different filters and brushes that it makes it
Yeah.
look like you actually drew and color on top of it, like you see on
Hmm.
the left corner. You see like it's almost like if you hand painted, but that's just an effect. So they did a good job. The artist is really talented.
Yeah,
Even if
no,
it
no
looks
doubt.
simple, even if it looks simple, when you really know how to draw like that, and you try to
Mhm.
draw really like a sketch, like a kid, it's difficult.
Exactly, because you're trying to downplay, right?
Yeah, you're almost contrived to from what you know. You almost can't. You gotta force yourself to draw badly, or to draw like a
Mhm.
kid, and it's really hard.
It's almost like trying to kick a soccer ball with your left foot when your right foot.
Exactly.
Any final words, Rabbit? Like in terms of this book, would you what kind of audience would you recommend this book for?
Well, I think it's more female based as well. It really is a really cute and clever kind of story that's put all together. I think if you like kind of that manga style and a little bit cutesy with a lot of laughs, you're gonna love this.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
Same.
All right, moving on to Indiegogo. And the Indiegogo book that I picked up is Titan, The Might of Mouse, #2 by Garry Shipman. Garry Shipman, from doing some researches, creator's been an Eisner and Harvey Award winner, nominee.
Wow.
Eisner and Harvey nominated creator here. This actually looks really interesting. I don't know about you guys if you've seen the some of the pics on their Indiegogo page. It looks like something I'd like to read. It's kind of got that Batman mouse kind of hybrid right there.
Yeah.
We'll go with you, Manny. What did you think of the art style with Titan Might of Mouse?
I love this artwork. That I think that's one of the covers. The interior art, I don't know if it's color like that. They didn't have any interior art color that I saw. I could be mistaken. I might have skimmed through it, but I know that I saw a bunch of pages just inked, and they look amazing. Which is crazy because when I saw this cover right here, the one we're seeing right now, is absolutely beautiful. The colors look amazing, but some of the other covers were not. I didn't feel they looked as good as this one. But when I saw the black and white artwork, it made me feel like the black and white cover, the black and white artwork would have worked perfect for the whole book. Like you almost didn't need it coloring, and it's rare because not that many artists can pull that off. If someone comes to mind really quick, and it's R. Adams. To me, Arthur Adams, his artwork in black and white is far superior than when somebody tries to color it, because he puts so much detail in it that you almost cover it with the coloring, right? His line work is amazing. Like in here, you see, it's not that it's bad; it's beautiful. But when you see the actual black and white, and I saw it, they had like 50 pages in black and white, and I was like, oh my god, man, it looks like Batman for real, like Batman.
Yeah. Well, in saying that, the original concept was in black and white. It was released originally in Kickstarter and in black and white. In Indiegogo, it's in color.
Okay.
So it was originally published in black and white. Rabbit, what did you think of just looking at the images here of Titan, Might of Mouse?
Well, actually, I've actually got to see the issue 1 before I've actually seen this one come up. So getting to see issue 2 come up is kind of enjoyment for me. I loved it.
Cool.
I loved the first issue, and the second issue seems to go upon pace with the first one. So I think it's going to be a great story, and people should check it out.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I like they have, the digital copy for $5. And then when we move on to the actual physical copy, it's $10 USD, $13 AUD. So it's affordable still, yet again. However, if you buy it in bulk for your retail store, so they've got the retail pack, 5 of each, issues number 1 and 2, for $60, which is actually fairly decent.
Yeah.
I didn't really get the page count on this, so I have a feeling it's not just typical floppy. I could be wrong, but I feel like this is a bit thicker than a floppy.
I don't know. I looked for that also, and I didn't see it.
Yeah, because I have a feeling this is not like because I'm thinking $10 for a comic book is a bit pricey. However, I don't think it's a standard floppy. I have a feeling that this is maybe 2 or 3 comics rolled into this this edition.
Maybe.
If memory serves me correctly, I think the first issue was closer to 30 pages as opposed to the 22. I don't think it was that thick. But
Okay.
yeah, definitely. I
Okay.
mean, like I said, it really was a good read for that first issue, and
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to seeing the second one.
Yeah, no, I'm
Yeah,
actually intrigued. Like, it actually looks really amazing.
it
And
does.
yeah, and it kind of has that Batman vibe to it, which like more like the animated series,
Yeah.
where
And
which I really enjoy.
yeah, and it's also, yeah, he looks like Batman, but the story is actually almost like Superman and Batman in one, because he's
Hmm.
from another planet, and but he was also a scientific experiment, and then he comes down and he becomes like the bad character. Or so
Yeah,
they took all these different aspects and they molded it into this little mouse, and it looks really
regardless.
cool. It's a really cool
Re-
concept.
yeah,
Whenever
really.
I was reading like I said, I read part of the first one, and whenever I was reading that, it reminded me of Mighty Mouse, but with
Hmm.
that Batman kind of spin, and that's
Yeah,
really what
Hmm.
kind of made it different for me because it was like, here we got this mouse that's more darker, but still that superhero-ish kind of feel.
Hmm.
yeah. I'll be dope if they made a crossover with Mighty Mouse.
Yeah,
That would
right.
be that would be heavenly. Gary, if you're listening, please make it happen. I'm
Yes,
sure they
look
will.
look for those rights.
Exactly. And just a bit about Gary as well. He's worked on Cryptozoic trading cards. He did the illustrations
Okay.
for Batman, Adventure Time, and Rick and Morty.
No wonder the art looks like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, he's like a chameleon. He can do superhero esque as well as our animated characters, which I really like. I like artists that really can do two different genres
Yeah,
like that. Yeah, but I mean, if you're watching, you're gonna really enjoy this art. Has a bit of that darkness to it, but it still looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's not like a super dark that you can barely see the character. Like sometimes you see Batman comics. You can
yeah, or
actually see it has light pages, dark pages. It's a really cool contrast.
yes, but it's not really like a Mickey Mouse type art either. It's
No.
like it meets in the middle.
Yeah.
It really meets in the middle. I mean, looks amazing, and the characters have a lot of heart in terms of what we can see right here. All right, we're going to be moving on to the book review. And I mean, to be honest with you, this book was actually fun. I'm not a big, massive gamer, but Rabbit, I would like to hear from you. Are you a gamer? Did you see anything in the book Old Game Plus One?
I did. I saw a lot, obviously, because most of them kind of paralleled a lot of games, Street Fighter,
Hmm.
and you got the skating. It really was kind of that fun jumping from one game to another kind of book, and
Hmm.
that's really what it was. It kind of led you through those different kind of games.
Hmm. How about
Yeah.
you, Manny? You a gamer?
Well, I used to be. All these
Yes.
games that they're showing here, most of them I remember. But what's
Hmm.
funny is when I saw the cover looks very striking, but it didn't tell me much of it, except when I
No.
actually see the stories and I see the game all game plus. Oh, but when I first started reading the first story, which is like the Street Fighter type of story,
Yeah.
I was like, I actually wrote, I didn't put two and two together. I was like, well, this guy looks like Balrog. This guy looks like Conor McGregor. This guy looks like Sagat. And then when I went to the next one and it was like Contra, which is my favorite game, or Metal Gear Solid, and I'm like,
Hmm.
hold on, wait, they're going like
Yeah.
really into it, like with the video games, and then I was like, all game plus, what a dummy. That's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
So that's when I really got into it. I was like, oh, this is dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool, man. It was cool.
Yeah. So just a shout out. It's coming to you from Limit Break Comics, a Dublin-based publisher, created by Seamus Kavanagh and like various creators. So like each story is by a different artist, and I did like the second story because it's very simplistic. It's like the skateboard game that we
Right.
used to
Right.
play back in the day. Especially
Yeah.
for me, California Games was one of them. That was a fun
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, no, I really dug that. And then we have a game like Resident Evil, and it's like what happens if you lose, right? And what the character feels when the player loses the match. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
That's what you get with the Resident Evil game. I thought that was pretty fun.
Man, if they do a second volume of this, I would love to do like a Paperboy type of story.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, please do. Getting chased by the
Oh
dog.
man, oh shit. Man, don't get me started, man. Don't get me started.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you guys from Limit Break Comics are listening, please shout out to our main man Manny. He's a very talented artist.
Let's
And then
do
we've
it.
got like the space racing game that was fun as well.
Yeah,
And then we have like the old ye old video game style, like the
Like
role
Bard's
playing game
Tale.
RPG.
Yeah.
that was my favorite one.
Yeah.
That was my favorite one out of all of them.
Yeah,
It was so smart and so. Oh man, I was
it was.
I
And
was
the
laughing
witness
at
was
the
the
end. I was
only
like,
survivor.
yes.
The lone witness.
I loved it. Let them kill it.
Yeah,
Let them kill each other. That was dope.
it just took one. What I love, it just took one splash page for that to happen. Oh, kudos to the creator.
It was
Seriously,
awesome. It
that
was
was
awesome.
fun. And then we have like a Tomb Raider slash what's that other game that's very popular? It's now made into a movie with Tom Holland
Uncharted.
and Uncharted.
Uncharted, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
but the art style in this was pretty dope. Like, look at that. If you've seen this, it's gorgeous.
That's why I love anthologies because there's so many different artists, man. So
Mhm.
different art, so many different art styles. It just it works.
Yeah,
I
no,
like
it
it.
really does. It really does. Okay, so yeah, and do yourself a favor and check it out. Old Game Plus by Seamus Kavanagh, Limit Break Comics. Check out their website. It's I believe it's to be released. I think it's just been released this year.
Okay.
But do yourself a favor and check it out, and follow Limit Break Comics. All right,
Yeah.
moving on. So, what's up with Death Watch 2000? So, this was during an era where there was multiple crossovers, multiple event comics. It was a time of the emergence of indie comics, such as Image, Valiant, Malibu, Dark Horse, just to name a few. There might be others that you know of that I haven't listed, but there was an uplift. There was an uplift of indie comics, but what happened with Death Watch 2000? So this came from the publisher Continuity Comics. They were an indie publisher created by Neil Adams. Neil Adams basically had a studio, Continuity Studio, which he hired creators to draw for himself, did the coloring, inking, and just build their brand. So creators like Mike Deodato Jr. came from there, among others. And he actually had some people from the big two that actually jumped on board as well to work with him in his studio. But Death Watch 2000 was kind of like the book that just got lost under the stratosphere. But I'd love to hear what you guys think. Manny, we all had a look at Death Watch 2000, the actual mini series. Well, it was a mega series because it was quite substantial. What did you think overall?
Well, the artwork. Look, the artwork was pretty good. Especially for the time.
Yeah.
And even though there were different artists working on it, Neil Adams, you can clearly tell that he was going over everything, and he had to match that style that he has, right? So the main problem that I see with it was that they try to do too big of an event with too many different characters that nobody knew about. If they would have tried to contain it within a few characters, maybe, or at least establish the brand and the characters before they did something so massive, because the event is like 200 page storyline or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's just one of the events, which is Death Watch 2000, and then it goes into the Rise of the Magic, which is another company-wide event. So yeah, the event is. I mean, I tried to read it, and it was just too many characters coming at me from that I just did not know anything about. The artwork is pretty. It was really good. It's Neil Adams most of the time,
Yeah.
and the artists that are under him, it's like artists that study with him. A lot of them
Hmm.
study with him, so he basically hired them. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's. I think they try to overachieve too early in the game. I think.
Yes. How about you, Rabbit? So, what was your overall thought of Death Watch 2000?
Definitely, you can't take away the beauty of it. I mean, because it really was
Hmm.
beautifully drawn, and the way that it's illustrated is you could just tell that so much work went into it. But
Yeah,
echoing what Manny was saying, it really was very complex and very huge for what they were trying to do. It was,
Yeah.
to me, well written, but the thing about it was a little bit harder to follow than most. And I think just the average reader kind of gets lost whenever you have so much going on and so much just kind of impacting you right away. To I think it was a great story, but it was really just very, very complex.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta mirror what both of you say. Visually, like we see this image here of Shebat, amazing. And the actual Shebat introduction book, I thought was quite stellar. I thought that this
yeah.
was fantastic. Like she's an interesting character. She's like Batman, but she's actually half bat. Well, technically she's half demon, but
A demon, yeah,
yeah, she's half demon, but has the appearance of a bat. And she's feared by the public, but she's doing her best to save the public from these actual full-fledged demons. And I thought that was fun, but I kind of feel sorry for her because obviously it's overwritten. You've got, Neil Adams on the scribe. He's basically telling us what the background people are thinking and saying, and it's kind of like, bro, give her a chance. Like she's saving your asses. Like, don't have to like give her any sledging or anything like that. She's trying to save you guys, and I like that was probably the what I thought. But I actually really enjoyed Shebat. I think she was an interesting character. Um,
yeah,
and it was a fun read. But you're right. When it got into the further stories, I'm like, who? Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
Especially the introducing the were freaks, and got you got Rilla and his group of half hyena, half jaguar, and
Yeah.
yeah, jumping from scene to scene. It's almost like flashback, but is it a flashback? Because it seems very relevant to what's happening now. It's like, yeah, I think too much back and forth. I think
yeah,
if like what they do with comic books nowadays, they kind of give you a synopsis of what's happening. I think if they had that like they do now, it would have been a much easier book to follow.
yeah,
Right.
And you guys are absolutely right. I think this was like the last, like almost like the last straw that broke the camel's back. The next trade after this was the one that did that, but I think this has you know started the breakage right there, because prior to that they had some pretty decent books. Like Miss Mystic was a hot book that came from Pacific originally, and Neil Adams brought it over to Continuity. Bucky
this
O'Hare
one,
was another book, yes.
Earth
Bucky O'Hare.
Earth 4.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll just show you guys some of the books that were introduced. And this was the She-Bat one that I mentioned. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah. Or Valeria, the She-Bat. And she's a pretty decent character. There's her trading card right here as well.
yeah,
The trading cards are actually really, really decent. And I would suggest, I think an easy way to read this book is to buy the trading cards.
I
And just
bet,
read
yeah,
the little scribes on the back. But the art is gorgeous. I love they have the little Bucky O'Hare toy and cartoon trailer as well,
yeah.
because
So
it actually came from their publishing. So definitely very decent. I actually didn't know this. I thought it might have been Star, but no, it came from Continuity. I'm actually surprised and impressed that Bucky O'Hare created by Larry Hama and Mike Golden. It's that's pretty dope.
Yeah.
Megalith was probably my favorite character. I don't know about you guys, but I thought he was pretty decent. Actually, I'll ask you: did you have a favorite character from Death Watch 2000?
What was your Paul?
I don't think I really had. I don't think I got into it that much.
Oh, you didn't get into it? No,
I mean,
that's fair.
I know I've read a few of them, but I really didn't get into it that much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My favorite was Valeria. Yeah, the She-Bat. Yeah, she was definitely my favorite. Yeah. Actually, it's funny you say that Megalith was your favorite, because as I was reading the story, when I read his story, that's when I was like, nah, this is what the hell, because he's 18 years old.
Yeah.
And in the story, right? And I guess is the problem that sometimes we find in comics, that it's a 60-year-old trying to write an 18-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
So they in the story they tell how he's basically thinking to himself, well, they don't give me credit because I'm too young, but I'm gonna go and fight these monsters. He goes and fights them, and at some point he said, I cannot hit this concrete with my fist because it'll shatter it. So I'm gonna hit it with my plastic bracelet. And I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, I know.
And then he lifts the whole concrete wall, and I'm like, if you can lift the whole concrete wall, dude, you're not gonna break your hands, trust me. I was like, so they try to make him like the Superman or like the Prime of this book of this company.
Prime. That's what I thought too. No,
right. So
yeah, for me, it was more about the design of the character. I think he looked cool,
and he did. You're right.
I wish he was written better. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, there were some points that I was like, oh man, the writing it was tough in a lot of places, but
yeah, it was. And I think Neil Adams has been credited for being an amazing artist. His writing is not quite. Even his DC stuff wasn't really very popular with fans. But I've got to talk about this cover right here. So this book here is actually made of Tivek. And Tivek is an indestructible material. So apparently this comic book is indestructible. And we talk about gimmick covers. If anyone has actually owned a Death Watch 2000 Earth 4 Tivek cover, like seriously, let us know what you think, because I'm actually interested in just grabbing one just so I can feel the material it's made out of.
I don't think I have that cover. I know I have one of them, but it's not the whole cover. It has like a. You remember those X-Men books in the 90s that had the hologram little square?
Mm-hmm.
So there's one of these comics that has a square. It's almost like a trading card, but it's right in the middle of the book, and it's in a different material like that. It's like a plastic material, but it ain't the whole cover. So I think I have the one with the trading card sort of style, but not this one.
This is actually polybag, so the trading card is loose in this polybag,
right.
But the actual material of the cover of the comic book cover is made of Tivek, which is kind of like a I'm not sure what the material is used for, but apparently it's indestructible. Like it's waterproof, weatherproof, like Kevlar, but it's a lot thinner, and it's a little bit more stringy as well. So to make that I'm actually intrigued to grab a copy and let you guys know how it feels.
That's a cool gimmick. That's a cool gimmick.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. This was the era of gimmick covers.
And you know what? I hear a lot of comic book fans like bash on these gimmicks, the hologram covers and stuff. Man, I love all of them. Hologram covers, chromium covers, die cut covers. I ate them all up, and if they put them out right now, I'll buy them, all of them. It's just they're fun. Why can't you have fun with comics? I don't understand it.
Yeah, but I guess in that area too, people thought it was overkill. I honestly, I was like you, Manny. I just picked them all up.
Yeah. I mean, you're buying characters with spandex on. What do you care if they're overkill? Just go ahead and buy the damn comic. Right? Oh my God! That's a good gimmick. Let's do it. Polybaga.
Y fronts. Put someone's Y fronts over a cover. Like,
Polybaga brief in it.
Yeah.
and then you go like, oh.
Let's copyright that idea.
But and just to wrap up with continuity comics, like this gimmick right here, actually, or this I don't know what you call it, like an advert page. I actually really dug this. I thought this is very attractive. And the fact that the art is black and white, so it kind of gives you a hypnosis of what's happening. I kind of wish that this would actually be in the opening page of each copy. So when people were actually reading it, they kind of get a better gist of what's going on. Because it is very much hodgepodge. And I think it is sad. I kind of wanted to see this either rewritten or better explained. Because these are stories, these are art that have kind of just gone forgotten. But I'm saying that though, their trading cards. I'm going to bring up their trading cards again. Made by Classic. So Classic they were known for doing like college sports cards. They did the trading cards for Deathwatch 2000, and a lot of YouTube channels are doing pack openings. So because they're so common, they're everywhere. However, they've mentioned before, and I mentioned off show that they've got some actual cards hand signed by Neil Adams. So, if even for casual Neil Adams fan like myself, I definitely want to check these out. But I think too, I just want to do it for the comic book history. This is an indie publisher that is kind of forgotten, which is sad because they were a publisher that came out in 1984 but disbanded in 1994. So they had a decade in the business. And I do appreciate, the strive that Neil Adams had, because he was known as being a Marvel and DC guy for pretty much his entire career. And for him to span off and do his creator-owned work, I think is applaudable. But in saying that, if you can find yourself some continuity comics, please check them out, because you will find you might see some names in there that are known further into the future or within that era in the big two. So
for sure.
Yeah, those are my final thoughts. All right, so thank you for that. So we'll move into our Kickstarter, which is Tyrant Fall, I beg your pardon, by C. Brennan Knight. There are 8 pages shown on this Kickstarter, so if you really want to get an idea of what the story is about, and I think it was a great introduction. I actually dug it. I actually really enjoyed these 8 pages that were seen, because it creates that folklore of what's happening with the story, but also has the ending. Like, I have a feeling that the young girl impacted has something to do with future stories. And here we see Brennan Knight. He's backed 14. He's backed 14 other creations from other creators, and this will be his first. I'll start with you, Rabbit. What did you think of? Did you check out the actual Kickstarter and have a look at those amazing 8 pages?
I did. I looked at it and I thought it looked really nice. I think the packages that he had available were really cost effective, but the story itself, everything that I read about it, seemed like it really was a unique way of telling that story.
Yeah. Especially with the fact that, dragons apparently were transferred to another dimension, so we thought, and they're coming back in different forms, and I think that was very very intriguing. So we've got dragons and fairies. And how about you, Manny? What did you think of Tyrant Fall #1?
Well, when I looked at it and I glanced through it, it seemed very European in the art style. It reminded me of heavy metal, like the books that we read a few weeks back. It reminded me almost even of Mobius. His style, very the line work and stuff like that. So it's it looks absolutely stunning, man. It's very well done. Everything I saw, I liked.
Yes.
Um,
Continue. Sorry, bro.
no, you're good. I wanted to say that it reminded me of like when I studied in the Cuber school back in '98.
Mm-hmm.
Everything back in those times they painted by hand, like they actually hand painted, and they use a lot. They use these watercolors, even in DC and
Mm-hmm.
Marvel. They were Dr. Phil Martin's. How do you say that? They're watercolors, but they're like very concentrated watercolors, and they mix them up, and the colors turn out just like the ones we're seeing right there. It's a different texture. It's not. It almost looks like watercolor, but it's very fine. Detail. You can put a lot of details on it. So when I
Yeah.
saw that, it reminded me. Oh my God, I remember those two. So yeah,
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it.
Well, just to talk about the artist, so Max Davenport, he actually has worked for IDW and also Wizards of the Coast. And if people are familiar with that name, Wizards of the Coast, they will think of Magic the Gathering.
Magic the Gathering. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that art style is So you mentioned it before, that Mobius, that sort of like kind of like steampunk versus post-apocalyptic style, like Mad Max, has that very desert, and people wearing armor made out of everyday utensils, or just clads of shells and things like that. It look like I really dug that.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I really dig the art style, and you know, and you're right, it has that very European style to it. It's
Yeah.
also lettered by Rob Jones. So Rob Jones is actually a British creator who's now doing work for DC, among others. Originally started in full-fledged indie comics, and he's actually moving into one of the big two at the moment. So the lettering is quite decent as well. But I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah, like I really enjoy it. It has that you know, how can I say? It's like you don't know, your next door neighbor might be a fairy, or your next door neighbor might be a dragon. You actually don't know, but they
Yeah.
hate each other. Like these two species just hate each other, and it's almost like a job to each of them to defeat themselves. You know what I mean? Pretending human.
Yeah. Oh man, look at that. Lord have mercy.
Yes, exactly. And you kind of sense that the future will be reflective on this young girl. That's what I feel. It really is a beautiful way to tell like an origin story. I mean,
And
gosh, so
even
good.
even the lettering almost feels like it's part of the art. The
Oh
Yeah.
way
yeah.
they color the balloons and the thought balloons, the way they set up the balloons in the previous pages you were showing, how it's almost like the balloons are moving in different spots, and it
Hmm.
follows. If you like when you see it right there, if you know comic book art, you know that you have to make the reader follow a certain way so that the his eyes are at the bottom right corner
Hmm.
when it's about to turn the page. So if you look at it, the word balloons at the bottom, they start going down. So when you reach the bottom of that page, you see the whole pattern and you flip the page. It's something you can tell that the letterer is a professional, man, because
Hmm.
not,
Oh
you
yeah.
know he's guiding you and you do not even notice it. It's beautiful work, man.
Yeah,
And
no
you
doubt.
know, every time I read a comic, especially nowadays on Kickstarter and whatnot, whenever they have previews, you kind of see a lot of influences of other comics of superheroes or wherever they're going. With this, it really did feel like it was a unique story, which kind of surprised me and kind of took me off guard because I didn't know what to expect. So,
Right.
Hmm.
like, I mean, it was beautiful. It was unique. I would tell everybody to check it out.
Oh, no
Same.
doubt.
Same.
No doubt about it. It's and I don't think the title gives off a lot, which is impressive. The title is Tyrant Fall. It really doesn't give too much away, and you really just enjoy it for what it is. I think now we know the title after checking out these amazing pages, but
Yeah.
it's yeah, like Rabbit said, it really took you off guard, and I didn't think I'd like it as much because you think this figure that we're seeing, this beautiful young lady, she defeats someone and she's kind of proving to herself to be like a warrior, and then basically she then turns another key, whereas at the end she's like, if you cross me, this what I did to this family, I'm going to do to you. And I thought, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, here we're thinking that she's a hero and she's a savior, but in fact, she's the opposite. I really dug that. I thought it was absolutely amazing.
And in that environment, like expecting you're gonna get a, we all want to see it, but expecting to see a hero, like a true hero, more than
Yeah,
likely not gonna happen. It's survival of the fittest,
exactly. Yes. It's like kill or be killed.
Yeah, literally,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like a dog eat dog world, far out. But oh, I
Man,
like. I didn't think I'd like this as much as I did, but I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
hell yeah, hell
And I
yeah.
think it's definitely worth backing.
This
Um,
hell yeah. I feel the same way. Yeah, when I read the title, I was like, maybe this is like a villain's, someone, the
yeah,
hero defeating the villain or whatever, a tyrant. But then when you actually see the artwork, I was like, oh my god, hold on, what's going on here? So it's
exactly. So just as of today, there's 22 days remaining. Its pledge target in Australian dollars is well, actually, you know what? From US dollars, they've achieved 2,572 out of a goal of 8,000. So they're about 25% through. But there's 22 days remaining, so there's plenty of time to support this amazing book. And
yeah,
I mean, gosh, and I really love that they just introduced an introduction piece, because I have a feeling that girl in the very last panel is the same figure that we see on the cover. So yeah, I
ah,
yeah. So I really dig this. Like it's
oh
like
man,
Conan. It's like the introduction of Conan, right?
Yeah.
We see that 10-minute scene in the intro of the movie where
in
his
the
village
yeah,
gets slain. Like, oh man, that's so deep, and that's how I felt about this.
yeah, I
You know,
agree.
her and I don't even know if she is a fairy, but her grandfather was. But I
Right,
don't think there was a birth, maybe grandfather by maybe adoption, or never know, right? But
Right.
definitely maybe he was just a very kind man that just loved people and he was helping whoever he could and he just wanted to blend in and not show off his true form. But obviously the dragons can sense fairies, and yeah, far out. I actually really want to read this now.
Yeah.
damn, yeah, you and me both.
Yeah, but man, yeah, definitely check it out. Tyrant Fall #1 by C. Brennan Knight. You will not be disappointed. Definitely not disappointed. But man, I just got to make a special announcement. We've had our second episode of Think Indie Extra. So Think Indie Extra is our offshoot to Think Indie podcast, where we interview our creators. I know in episode 1 we interviewed an amazing creator, Edgar. We're trying to do this on a separate show so we can fit in our amazing content about Webtoon, about comic books, Indiegogo, as well as Kickstarter, as well as just some, general comic book gossip and tips and tricks. So we've got our second show, which is called Think Indie Extra, where we interview our creators, which allows us to give them plenty of time to tell their story, showcase their amazing work, and we'd really appreciate if you could support us by clicking the like and subscribe button to get more amazing content from Think Indie. So you'll get our Think Indie podcast as well as Think Indie Extra. But man, I had a lot of fun today talking about comics, about indie comics, especially with my amazing friends here, Rabbit and Manny. Rabbit,
Yep.
where can we find you?
I am Paul Gomez on Twitter and Instagram. That's 790. Also on Facebook. That's Paul.Gomez 790.
And how about you, Manny? Where can we find you?
Well, I'm on Twitter, Truthful Comics on Twitter, and then on Facebook, Manuel Carmona, and my website is theartofmanuelcarmona.com, or truthfulcomics.com, and you'll find our comic book. You'll find Buy Indie Comics Day. All our stuff is in there.
Fantastic. Yeah. Follow us on our socials. We'll definitely be sharing stuff out there, especially about our amazing shows, especially the projects that we're working on as well. So you can know a bit about us, but we'd love to know a bit about you. So reach out to us. And if you are interested in being interviewed for Think Indie Extra, check out Think Indie Pod on Twitter. Just send a comment, send a DM, and we'll definitely get in touch and we'll organize a date for you. But on behalf of myself, Dodgy, Rabbit, and Manny, we'll see you all next time.
Thank you. We hope you've enjoyed this Comic Crusaders production. For real-time news on all things pop culture, please feel free to follow us on social media. For articles, original content, merchandise, and more, please go to www.comiccrusaders.com. Also follow along with all of the websites in the Comic Crusaders family. As always, if you like this content, please click like and subscribe to the Comic Crusaders YouTube channel.